I just want to read you some of the comments that Andrew Adonis made when he resigned from the government, because obviously with Daily Mail journalists queuing up to call for him to be silenced and sundry other members of the hard right, anti-British, pro-profit movement that's currently running the country, also queuing up to try to discredit him. A lot of the stuff he said about railways got overlooked. So I'll tell you what he said. I would have been obliged to resign because of Chris Grayling's indefensible decision to bail out the Stagecoach Virgin East Coast rail franchise. The bailout will cost taxpayers hundreds of millions of pounds. It benefits only the billionaire owners of these companies. That's why I kept asking an earlier caller what exactly Brian Souter and Richard Branson were going to suffer as a result of this government decision. I hope the PAC, that's the Parliamentary Accounts Committee, calls Sir Richard Branson and Sir Brian Souter, oh look, there they are, to give evidence. I am ready to share troubling evidence with the PAC and other parliamentary committees investigating the bailout. I raised these concerns with the Chancellor and the Transport Secretary as soon as the bailout became apparent. I received no response from either minister beyond inappropriate requests to desist. Now, I know I get on my high horse a bit, and I'm not going to stop, sorry, but that should stop traffic. That's a government-appointed man describing inappropriate requests to stop honestly describing what he thinks is happening. And if that's not a definition of things that we should be frightened of, I honestly don't know what is. And if you follow Andrew Adonis on Twitter, you'll sense there's an almost disbelieving air to his public comments since resigning, because I suspect, I don't want to malign the man unfairly, our paths have only crossed once or twice when he was running Harriet Harman's bid to be Mayor of London. I suspect he hasn't been properly exposed to the madness of the hard right media until this happened. And there's a slightly disbelieving air to a lot of his comments on social media, and one of the interviews he gave at the weekend as well, because he can't quite believe what he's now being exposed to. You had Nigel Lawson's son writing in the Mail yesterday about what a wrong Andrew Adonis is, and I read it thinking, at what point do these people start telling us the benefits? At what point do we start getting a mature, detailed, evidence-based account of how our lives are going to get better as a result of this thing that men like Nigel Lawson's son have told us to do? But there was nothing. There was just abuse of Andrew Adonis. And as someone who's been mixing in the corridors of power in the House of Lords and grew up in care, I mean, he's not what you'd call silver-spooned, although the fact that he went skiing last week was used by some right-wing journalists to suggest that he's out of touch with reality. Growing up in care, son of a waiter, I think, that proves that he was born with more silver spoons up his nose than anybody in the cabinet. That's astonishing to me, that he can, in good conscience, describe being inappropriately requested to desist from criticising a transport decision in his role as government-appointed transport czar. Because if he's not allowed, we've been through the list of people who aren't allowed freedom of speech under some newspapers' rulings. Judges, nah, they're enemies of the people. MPs, elected MPs, nah, they're saboteurs. Academics, nah, they're sort of lovies and snowflakes. Government-appointed transport czars shouldn't be allowed to talk about government transport policy. Not just according to newspaper editors, but according to the government. So he says, I raised these concerns with the Chancellor and the Transport Secretary as soon as the bailout became apparent. I received no response from either minister beyond inappropriate requests to desist. But hey, it doesn't matter, because we can get back the blue passports we could have got back all along. And Andrew Adonis's analysis of why the government is apparently behaving in such a tin-pot, incompetent, borderline corrupt fashion, I'll quote you word for word. Brexit is causing a nervous breakdown across Whitehall and conduct unworthy of Her Majesty's government. That's what sovereignty looks like. Governments ordering government-appointed transport czars not to speak in public about transport, leaving him with little choice but to resign.
You didn't frankly have the balls to put country before party.